All right, top 5 Los Angeles Chargers. The framework you need is that everybody had to play roughly 500 snaps or more, and there's no positional value. Let's get started with number 5, Ladd McConkey, who, just think for a second, where do you think he ranks in yards per route run? I'm going to tell you as a hint, it's better than what you expect. He's ninth in the league in yards per route run. That's for wide receivers alone, but there's like maybe two tight ends that would be ahead of him. So at worst, he's like 11th. And I was like just completely dumbfounded when I saw that stat because McConkey was in a by committee wide receiver room. And, it wasn't until like partway through the year, I don't remember exactly when, but that his like production really jumped because for a good chunk of the year, everybody was pretty closely, put together in their stats. Like, the one receiver would lead in touchdowns, the other would lead in yards per reception, the other would be yards per game. Like, everybody had something going for them. And then at the end of the year, you just look at it and it's like, yeah, Ladd McConkey is just, the number one everything. I thought that he was going to be a respectable slot guy, but he's like one of the best in the league. And that's shown too by the fact that, so that's an advanced stat. He's ninth in yards per route run. That's advanced. A more conventional stat is that he's 16th in yards per game. So, no matter how you slice it, he's producing. And again, this is a run first offense. They, towards the end of the year, like midpoint onwards, were realizing that, hey, Justin Herbert's really good. We can pass the ball a little bit. Greg Roman somehow, must have been copying from someone else, passing concepts. But, he dialed some stuff up. And, everybody else in the league, for the most part, was, passing the whole time. It took the Chargers a good chunk of the year to figure that out. So McConkey could have had even better stats. But, we're just going off of what he did show. So either way, he's excellent. And number 4, the aforementioned Justin Herbert. The person I said that's really good is, in fact, really good. The numbers back it up. I'm not lying to you. He is 10th in net yards per attempt, which looks at your yardage per attempt and deducts based on like the sacks that occur. So, if you lose 15 yards on a sack, every other stat for the most part is just going to be like, whoopsie daisy, whatever. This stat is like, no, that counts as an attempt. That counts as yards lost. So Herbert was not getting sacked. He was being productive with the ball when he got the opportunity. He was, being a great quarterback. And he was also 12th in touchdowns. So again, they're running the ball a lot. You don't think there's going to be too many opportunities to go around for the quarterback. No, Herbert was, still producing in a great way. He also was 4th ranked quarterback for PFF. So, I know that's not like everybody's favorite stat, but, when it works in your player's favor, I bet you like it a lot. So, Herbert, really, really good. And I didn't want to focus too much on the PFF part because there's going to be a string of players that have PFF backing. Number 3 is, I feel so weird for having this guy above Herbert. Like, in my head, I'm just thinking, like, you can't have, this guy ahead of Herbert. Herbert's a quarterback and he's great. Number 3, though, because this is just, how good each player is Poona Ford. He was PFF's fifth best defensive tackle in the whole league, and he was also PFF's seventh best run defending defensive tackle. He exactly marks the Jim Harbaugh era, where the Chargers in years past were just so squishy and everybody was running on them for 200 yards. Not really, but it felt like it. And, they didn't have any guys in the middle that just could blow up runs. And insert Poona Ford, who's just guys, I'll be the run defense. He's not, the 350 nose tackle builds that you just put in the middle of the defense and say, take up space. Ford is strong. He's fast. He shoots gaps. He also is gap sound. And, I don't know what else you want in a defensive tackle. Number 2 is Kollmann, who I feel so bad for having him at number 2 because he's tied in points with number 1. Number 1 has 65, Mac has 65, Poona Ford had 63, Justin Herbert had 62, and Ladd McConkey had 60. Just for reference, according to my metric that evaluates different positional stats. So it was very tight. Mac, though, he was PFF's second best run defending edge, and he was PFF's fifth best overall edge. That's dominant stuff. Dude is, first of all, just completely jacked. He is still athletically dominant at his age, which I was a bit worried about. I wasn't sure what they should do, to be honest, with their money last year, because, Mac, he had an awesome year last year, but he was, doing so in large part due to athletic abilities. And, each year you get older, you lose a little bit of that. So I was like, Mom, pick me up, I'm scared. And instead, Mac is just like, no, I'm going to be, a top 5 edge rusher, even though edge rusher is the most competitive position, arguably, in the league. So Mac, he is, to be respected in every which way. And so too is the number 1 player, as you could imagine. If the number 2 players, I would imagine the number 1 guy is. And the number 1 guy, though, is Rashawn Slater, who is an absolute legend for the guys with short arms. He has T-Rex arms. I say that jokingly because it's definitely rude to say, but I say that in an endearing way because the fact that he's so ridiculously good and he has the disadvantage of not having long arms just tells you how refined he is. He is so good across the board. And I'll save the overall ranking for a second. He's 3rd in pass blocking for offensive tackles, 7th in run blocking, and get this, 2nd best overall for offensive tackles per PFF. If it weren't for Jordan Mailata, who just completely destroyed everybody this year, Slater would be the number 1 tackle. So Slater being number 2, it's still really good no matter what, but it's even better when you factor in that number 1 is just maybe the best player in the whole league. Slater, absolutely locked down as a pass protector, and he's just overall one of the best players in the entire league, full stop. Those are my thoughts on the top 5 Chargers. Be sure to let me know what yours are in the comment section, and also be sure to like and subscribe for more football content.